Good evening, welcome back to the Glazov gang for this second segment of our episode with three modern-day freedom fighters. Our gang members this evening: Nonie Darwish, the author of the new book, The Devil We Don't Know; Eric Allen Bell from globalinfidel.tv; and Dr. Nancy Bonus, the founder of Protecting American Values. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Glazov gang. This segment we're going to discuss Islamic slavery, which is alive and well today. We know, for instance, that Muslim Arabs still have a system of slavery of African blacks. Fascinating how the left does not protest or say anything about this at all. But Nonie, also in your book, and you've talked quite a bit about the rich and the poor, how in these countries a person that's wealthy can just come up to a person that's poor and slap them in the face in the middle of the street, and nobody does anything about this. There was a video out the other day that you sent me. I think it was a Saudi prince, a young Saudi prince that's actually torturing and beating a very poor garbage collector on the street. Let's just show a little clip of that. Very, very disturbing. And you would think that a video like that, you would think that the demonstrators at Occupy Wall Street, who are against class oppression, who are against classism and want to empower and liberate the workers and the downtrodden, where are they protesting this? But let's begin with this. What was going on in that video, Nonie? Why is there this oppression? And am I correct? Islamic theology serves as a buffer to this.
Absolutely. Look at the video. The guy was being beaten with a whip, just like a slave. That's a symbol of slavery. If you look at the pictures of old Arab pictures of slavery, you will see the whip, and they're standing there, and they cannot move. If you notice, this guy's in the street. Why didn't he run? Why didn't he run and try to find a house and call the police? You know why? Because in Saudi Arabia, he's not defended. He will not, the Saudi police will not protect him, the neighbors will not protect him, nobody will protect him, and probably if he had asked for help, he would be put in jail.
And you're saying this isn't just Saudi law, this is Islamic law.
Islamic, well, all Islam emanated really from the Arabian Peninsula culture, and this is a culture of slavery. Egypt, Cairo, used to be a center for slave trade, and if you look at it, it became so penetrated in the culture, the idea of slavery and shaming. Even the way we bring up our children in the Arab world is based on a lot of shaming and humiliation, and that's why Arab men and Arabs in general, and Muslims in general, are very sensitive to humiliation. They're very envious of cultures that have dignity to the humans. There is no human rights are not protected because it's not part of Islamic culture.
Yeah. And in the slavery in Afghanistan, they have bachabazi. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yes.
Bachabazi, young boys that are taught to dance seductively and auctioned off or paid off as slaves, as sex slaves. And in Saudi Arabia, they kidnap and purchase little tiny boys and have them as camel jockeys and slaves, and they're beaten and tortured and sexually assaulted.
It's not just little boys and poor people which are slapped on the streets by the police, and nobody can object to it. That's the problem, is nobody can object to it. It's also against animals. Well, animal abuse in the Muslim world, donkeys, dogs, cats. I have seen animal torture, and nobody objects to it. It's the higher class, the leader against the lower person, until the street.
Just a second. Thank you. I just want to get to Eric because he's been patiently quiet here. Eric, one thing that I highly admire you for, because I followed your quote-unquote conversion very carefully and studiously, you're a real, genuine humanitarian. Part of your transition clearly came from an earnest and honest feeling of compassion for victims.
Yeah.
And you're developing also an outrage at the silence of, you know, some people that could be called your former comrades. Talk a little bit about this video, what Nonie and Nancy are saying, and how this is really part of your transition too.
I think that, you know, I haven't fundamentally changed. I just have become educated about Islam. So, you know, when I was very liberal, it was because I thought I was sticking up for the underdog. I care about people I don't know. I care about social injustice. I just had the wrong ideas in my head. So as I fine-tune, as I understand that Islam is the worst human rights abuser on the planet today, Muhammad is the worst person who ever lived. The most dangerous idea ever is Islam, not radical Islam. But let's look at this. If you have a group of people who are indoctrinated and conditioned from birth to think a certain way, and you say this bloodthirsty pedophile tyrant Muhammad is the ideal moral example, and that your neural pathways are still forming.
Yeah.
How do you undo? I mean, how do you snap out of that? And we're talking about 1.6 billion people who've been brainwashed into that. That is a serious problem. Of course, they're just cruelly slapping people in the street. It doesn't even have to say it in the Quran. All you have to know is the most perfect man was a cruel rapist who beheaded his critics, who killed an entire tribe of Jews.
Eric, why is Trayvon Martin discussed constantly on CNN, and perhaps legitimately so, but why is this Saudi garbage collector not discussed constantly on CNN?
You know, my take on that is that CNN doesn't want to lose sponsors. And if you start telling people things they don't want to hear, they tune out, or they write to the sponsors and say that was racist.
Okay.
I'm not convinced CNN has some leftist agenda.
Oh,
I think the agenda of CNN...
Come on, Eric.
They're owned by a lot of Arabs.
I would say CNN's agenda
stuff.
is make money by telling our audience what they want to hear.
Yes,
I
but
don't
what
know
do...
if that's
Okay,
true.
Nancy, go ahead.
I don't know if that's true, because if you look at Hollywood, let's look at Hollywood, they make a lot of movies that fit their agenda that don't make money because they fit their agenda. Or newspapers, are the New York Times.
They don't make the movies because they fit their agenda.
Okay, but
they make the
but
movie
think about it.
because
The New
their
York
father
Times-
was in the business and their
look
brother and their cousin are in the business. It's
Let's
nepotism.
look at the New York
That's where
Times
bad
and the
movies
Los
come from.
Angeles Times and all those others. They're losing people's advertising dollars. They're losing people's subscriptions, but they refuse to change their tactics because they're ideologically driven, period. They're ideologically
And-
I think
it's-
Hollywood's ideology is about making money and
come
making
on,
sure
Eric.
your cousin and your son and your
There
sister
is a
gets
hunger.
Eric, come
There's
on,
a
it's
hunger
completely
in
different.
America.
nepotism.
No,
There's a
come on,
hunger
no,
used
in
to be.
America for the truth. And I believe that the media is intentionally holding certain aspects of the truth that doesn't fit their agenda.
Because it's
think-
dominated by the left.
Absolutely. I think there is hunger. When I speak, whenever I go to speak, I mean, people are, you could throw a pin and you'll hear it. People are focused on what I'm saying because they want to hear it.
Wait a minute, even in the academic setting?
Yes, they hear, but there is a
But wait
lot
a
of
minute, what
resistance.
about where you had
They-
to hide in the bathroom?
Oh,
Well,
yes.
maybe those are the
Oh, yeah.
leaders, right?
Those, even the ones who don't want to hear me, they come and they hear me and they go home with something to talk about.
Okay.
There is hunger for the truth, but it has to come from the other side, the truth.
So this is, let's get to this to end the segment then. Apart from how we diagnose the problem, let's talk about what we can do to break down this Berlin Wall that I would argue that the left has built in our society to stop us from hearing the truth. And all three of you are doing a
Ideas on
great
that,
job.
right?
Eric, you're on the front lines. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. Tell us what you're doing, what your plans are, and then we'll get to
Look,
the other
when
two
I wrote for
fighters.
the Daily Kos, my articles that went viral were in the early stages of Occupy, when I thought plutocracy was the problem. Before it got hijacked by communists and anarchists, I had ideas, and people paid attention to them. I just wrote 2 articles that are highly critical of Islam that are on the landing page of occupyamerica.org. So, I mean, there is some hope.
Amazing.
Now, that
This is
said,
the superstar of the counter jihad movement.
Yeah.
that
We need
said,
people like him, and it really doesn't matter what the media's intentions are. We have to embarrass them into saying the truth, whether they intend it or not.
we have to speak their
I am so
language.
proud of Eric.
But what if they control the language? Okay, maybe we're talking about two different things.
We
They're
can take
controlling
control of the
language.
language. We ride the horse in the direction it's going. When you talk to liberals, don't talk about patriotism or Israel. Talk about what they're interested in. Gay rights, women rights, free speech, cool. Islam is the antithesis of all of those things.
I
Right.
Nothing is more
completely agree.
xenophobic than Islam.
But in terms of language, this is where the left has succeeded in tying our hands behind our back. We cannot even say, look, you know that video we just showed? That's an inferior culture. We are superior.
Exactly.
But when you start talking like this, people start thinking, oh, you're a fascist, you're a racist. We have to say our Western civilization, our way of living is superior, and it's worth
Absolutely.
defending and
If
protecting.
if
If
you
we
talk
wanna
about
live-
it in terms of human rights, I think he's absolutely right, talking about it in terms of human rights, because they think they supposedly care about human rights, and if you show them how women are treated,
They do respond
that is
to
a
that.
human rights abuse.
Jimmy, these-
But this is the problem.
But
The
what about
left
all
for-
the animal
you-
rights people?
Ladies and gentlemen, the left
Even
pretends
the
it's for
animal
human
rights.
rights.
Well,
Even
let's
human
be
rights.
clear when
No,
we
no.
say the left. The leaders who are receiving funding aren't going to listen, okay? But the rank and file left person, the liberal,
Okay.
might listen if you
Okay.
speak to their heart.
Okay.
I grew up
Let's finish.
with
10
maids.
seconds each, please. Go ahead.
I grew
Nonie.
up with maids in the Muslim world who were regularly beaten by the ladies of the house, the children, and it's not just in the streets, and nobody will protect them. And it's up to this day. Nobody protects the weak in the Muslim world. You know why? Because under Islamic Sharia, slavery is okay.
I think we need an educational program. There's something called Scared Straight. They take at-risk youth and they bring them to prison and show them what it's like for a day. Why don't we start showing some liberals what it would be like to live under Sharia for a day? Take some women's liberal groups and say, for a day, you're going to live as if you're a woman living under Sharia. Everybody put on a burqa and let's have this
To Saudi
experience.
Arabia just for
It's funny that you
for a
mentioned
week or a
scared
I would like to
straight.
send Noam Chomsky to live
Yeah.
under
I
Hezbollah for a little while.
love Scared
Nancy,
Straight.
please
That's
finish
one
up.
of my
Yeah.
favorite programs.
Last word
I
of
love
wisdom
it.
goes to you, please,
I
Nancy,
think he's
briefly.
right. We have to keep educating. We can't give up no matter what. A lot of times I feel discouraged. You probably do too. And you want to give up, but you have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting so that we can find the right way to
Yeah.
get through to them.
Speak their
Well, I'll
language.
tell you
My
this way.
only fear is that by the time we wake up and we get educated, we're going to have a good area in America that's a majority Muslim area that's going to demand Sharia, or
Yeah.
else a separatist movement.
Absolutely.
Voila, we could have a Chechnya in America.
And
And
let-
that's what I'm scared of.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, one thing to finish on this point is that we are labeled as haters of Muslims, when in fact, what every single one of you were just saying, we love the Muslim people, and we are on the side of the Muslim people. And it is the
Absolutely.
left that caricatures us and slanders us and smears us. They're the ones that don't care about Muslims suffering under Islamic gender apartheid and Islamic despotism. Join us tomorrow evening for the third segment when we discuss how our enemies are brainwashing this nation.